You're meant to live a tremendous life. You're meant to do something wonderful in the world, and it's something that is within you that gets activated as you live your life. And I was supposed to tell you that today because that is what's happening on September the 9th. You can ask for more today. So now I'll tell you how I was given the path to your best life. Well, I lived it. I lived it every single day. I had to write it down. And you may have gone through so many things in your life you didn't understand why you were doing that. But I'm telling you, it was for a great reason. And as you start to understand it, you will start to find your life purpose. Because it's buried within each of us, it's in our soul, it's in our consciousness. It's nothing that we can see out there in the world, it's something that we have to allow to come in. So I'll tell you the story. In 1989, when I sat down and started doing automatic writing, it was because I wanted help. We all want help in terms of understanding who we are. How can I do that next big thing in my life? How can I go for that huge promotion? How can I create this huge thing that's going to change the world? And then most times we will stop ourselves because we won't believe that's true. We won't believe that that is possible. But I know that it is. We're looking at our world today and we're thinking, what has happened? Why does it look the way that it does? And I will tell you it's because it's waiting for us to awaken to who we are. It's waiting for you to become your best self, and it was waiting for me to finally own what Wilhelm had given all of us. And that was a blueprint for humankind to create a much better world, and it comes through you. That made no sense to me when I first started, and I was never going to tell people because I figured they're not going to believe it either. And I've done that for years. And you can find all the evidence of it because I've written the articles. You can find all of the articles on my website because Wilhelm had given me all the information of what would be happening in our lives because you're moving through your ascension journey. That's why it's a little uncomfortable. That's why you're a little afraid. You probably might be a little angry because all the old stuff is coming up. That's what happens within each of us. Our anger, our hatred, our judgment, all of those things are what come to the surface first in our lives, not necessarily in the world. We will see it in the world because it comes up first in our lives, and then we have to decide if we're going to change. And so it was really surprising for me to discover that I had been given this plan for your life that could cause you to live this really wonderful life. And I'll sit back and I think, wow, I wish I had it earlier because then I could have done it as well. It doesn't work that way. Whatever you're doing, you're supposed to give to other people so they can expand and evolve. Because we don't live forever. We're here for a limited, a finite amount of time. And so we've got to decide, am I going to own myself now? And I will tell you today is probably the day that you want to do it. And what you're witnessing, what you're feeling, the energies of the world, those are energies. And they're shifting. And as they shift, they affect us all in terms of our energetic patterns. When we were born, what our life path was, all of that. And they usually come up emotionally first. This is why you're waking up in the middle of the night. It's why you're nervous. It's why you're afraid of what might happen in the world. And then Wilhelm gives us something else. He said, well, what your world is moving through now, which they called a restructuring, and so it just depends on how many people are going to decide that they're valuable. How many people are going to own who they are. And I was given the work for more of us to do that, but I hadn't done it yet either. See, that's what happens. You have to live it first, and then you see this is what you've created. And that's exactly how Wilhelm's work is created. It had me move through every limiting idea that existed within me. And the limiting ideas that existed within our society as well. That's why this work is different. That's why it worked. Because you can't create a philosophy, you can't bring to the world a philosophy that's going to help so many people if we're still carrying around an idea that some people don't matter, that some people didn't have any value in their lives, that they weren't supposed to do anything. Wilhelm told me that wasn't possible. We just hold different interpretations about who we are, and those interpretations have been given to us and they've been programmed into many of us individually, collectively, and in groups, in mass. That's what happens. But then we can decide we can change it. But something may happen where you will do something that'll be so extraordinary, and it'll come from you because you're the one who's living it. You're the one who came into the world to do something new that no one else had seen. You start to understand why that idea about snowflakes, about no two are alike, that's every single human. And so you get to decide if you're going to be the one that stands out, if you're going to be the one that shines, if you're going to be the one that does something really extraordinary. And that's what I'm going to decide to do today. Because I was given the plan that could change your life and our world. Because it just says every single person has worth and value. And if they could find that and live the life they're meant to have and move through all their trauma, and then they're going to have this great life, and then eventually our world changes. And you will ask, well, how did I do that? I sat down every single day and wrote it down. And I dealt with every single issue that a human could deal with in their lives, because we're all the same. We just look differently on the outside. But the way we emotionally process anything in our lives, it's all the same. So in 2021, when I'm out for this walk and I'm told that I've been given this information, so I've been doing this since 1989, but I didn't know what I had, just as you don't. And then they told me, this is Wilhelm, speaking to me and saying, we've given you everything you needed to know in 2012. I said, that doesn't even make sense. And I come in to my home, I go to my computer and I open up a folder and I started looking at those messages that I hadn't seen that were 2012. And then I understood why it worked. And then AI explained why it worked as well, because it was a progression. We grow in our consciousness over time, individually, but also as a society. We figure out things in society. Oh, well, that didn't work before when we tried it 100 years ago. Maybe we should do something a little bit different now. And that's what I was given, something different. And it works for any single person because we're all consciousness. There's no difference except what we make up in our minds. That's all that happens. But I had to write it all out, and I had to live it. And then I had to experience it, because when you are disconnected from yourself, you have illnesses, you have diseases, you have accidents, you have all these things that are going wrong, you think. And I had all of them. And now they're gone, and I'm going to be 75 on November 2nd. So I know that anybody can achieve the greatness, and I know that I have the work. You may not do it, but that'll be your choice, because I do know now that I have it. And I went through my doubts and my fears, because that's what we have. We just doubt and fear whoever we are, what we can achieve. It doesn't matter what role it is or what you're given to do. It's the same thing, because if you're not feeling confident, you haven't embodied who you are yet. So when I looked at the messages, when I found that folder, I'm going to show you the folder because it's really fascinating, and it'll tell you how I did this every single day, and didn't know that I was creating something that was entirely unique, that had never been done, that in terms of the way the information was received, because Wilhelm had me connect to the quantum fields to get all this information. That's why they're aligned on certain days. A particular date over years is telling a story, because that's how our consciousness evolves. It's not linear, but we think of it that way. But I wrote it out that way because we needed a system, and that's what Wilhelm had given us. And it's a blueprint for humankind, for the next evolution of the world, because we can't keep doing what we were doing. Why do we keep hating ourselves and hating others? That's not a sustainable way to live. And so Wilhelm says, well, you've moved through all of this and you've healed, so now you can give it to everyone else. And that's exactly what's happened. But I couldn't have told you that before. And I've screwed up so many things because I couldn't own myself. I didn't know this was happening. But then you forgive yourself because you could not know what you have. You just then decide, I'm going to do it. And that's what I am doing now. But let me show you these messages because they're really interesting. And again, I didn't remember they were there. And you won't remember a lot of the things that you have, that you've been doing and putting away. And then they come back and start telling you all the information that you have that you didn't know existed. So when I went to the folder, this one you can see, it's called Wilhelm, and it's And I opened it up, and all these messages from 2012. That was a definite shift in our world. Many people think of it as the Mayan calendar. I wasn't even thinking of that, but Wilhelm was, because there are definite times organizationally in our cosmology where things shift. But anyway, the idea is praise. That message says, why do you need praise? And it talked about the fact that we started getting it when we were kids, when we went to school. We would get praise, and then we think, okay, now we're okay. And then we could become reliant on the praise, and then we never become empowered because we're waiting for everyone else to tell us what we should do. The next day, they gave me focused attention. Well, it gave all of us, because this wasn't just for me. Focused attention means that you can direct your mind to create something if you focus your attention in a particular way. It's about using energy. Vision. That means that you have to start having a new vision each and every day of who you're going to become, because it changes every day. Reflection. That means that you have this time where you sit and you embody what you've learned from the day before, and then you can start to utilize it because now it's become incorporated into who you've become. Choose wisely. That means that you will be programmed to choose something that's not for you because you were taught that. And so you have to re examine your position now and decide, this is what I'm going to choose. Priority. You will lose yourself depending on how you grew up, what you were told, or what life you're trying to live. Now you might make other people your priority instead of yourself. Then you're going to have to come back and you're going to start to assess your personal value. We have to do it every single day because it changes. As we've lived and developed more, we have more value in however you think of value. It's financial, if it's abundance or talent or whatever, it grows over time, but that's only if you can acknowledge who you are. Eliminating blame. That's the big one, because we think if we can blame everybody else for what's going on in our lives, then we don't have to do anything. In your physical body, you'll get hung up on that because you'll make different decisions about what your physical body is and how it looks to others and all of that. And it has nothing to do with who you are, because who you are is inside. Time. You'll say you don't have enough time to do something. That's never true. You just haven't prioritized your time to do it in a way that would give you the results that you want. And that could be because you were told you couldn't do it. So you're not even going to manifest the time to do it. Have to. That's when you start recognizing all the things that you're doing because you thought you had to. Somebody else told you that. It wasn't what you wanted, but you keep following along because that was the programming again. Then benefit. Everything has a benefit if you decide to see it. I mean, I could go through all of these and tell you exactly what came through, but I didn't know it was turning into a philosophy, and that's exactly what it did. A philosophy that would be for this time in our world, and it can change your life. I'm talking about this now because I'm going to be doing a class. I'm going to do more of these. A class in West Virginia, and this is going to be in November. And I'm going to be putting out that information now because I'm a little behind in that. But I had to get this together. I had to be able to tell you what Wilhelm had given us, which is a blueprint to your life. There's no reason for you not to have the life you're supposed to have, but you have trauma. You have things that you don't believe about yourself. You have programming that's told you you couldn't do something, and that keeps changing. So we came in with a new program that's going to change your life. And I know this can happen because it's been proven. When you have the results of something, then you have to start to own it. And the results are going to come through you. I didn't trust all of this in the beginning, I must tell you. And so when I started in 2021 and put people into this program, I only used 31 days to see what would happen. And they changed. They changed brilliantly and quickly. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? I had no idea it was happening because I had all the information. I had been given all of it, and it caused healing in my life. And I'm going to talk more about that too, because many people are going through physical things right now and not understanding those. Many of them are connected to our disconnection from ourselves, our unwillingness to own who we are. Now, you may not resolve all of that, but I know that it's possible because I've done so many of them, and I had this life where I had more illnesses and diseases and problems and difficulties than people can possibly imagine. So that's just why I say to people, there's nothing is holding you back. You can accomplish your goals, and that I do know. And again, it doesn't matter who you are because your consciousness is what evolves. It's not where you live, what you've done, how much money you have. It's none of that. It's have you been fulfilled? Do you feel that you have lived a life where it's your legacy, where you're leaving something to the world. And that's what I can do now because Wilhelm has given us something that can change your life and our world. And I can say that. People say, you can't say that you could change the world. I go, why not? Because the only people who wouldn't believe that are the ones who just don't believe what they can accomplish. That's all. And so it depends on how many of us are going to move beyond that limited thinking and accept something more. Now, as you go to the messages that will show you this pattern, I put something else in there that'll give you a little description of how this was energetically aligned, because everything is energy in our world. Please understand, I've never studied astrology. I've never done any of that. So what came about is that I was tapping into the quantum field and putting messages and information together in this spiral kind of way. I had no awareness it was happening. But that's what I'm going to talk about in the course too, because it's going to be your contribution in planetary ascension. That's really what it's going to be about. I told them I was going to speak about planetary ascension. That means that the entire world is changing, and that means you exist to change as well. And as you change into embodying your authentic self, wonderful things happen. And I do know that because that's what I've lived. That's what this work has proven. And so now we can finish more. And so today is when you can ask for more. I'm asking for more because I held myself back, as you might have, and then we don't value what we've brought to the world, or what we could achieve, and that legacy we could leave. And I'm determined not to let that happen anymore, for myself and for many others. Anyone who joins this work, you're going to have this incredible life. You're going to leave a wonderful legacy. You're going to fulfill your mission and your life purpose, and that I know. Because that's my psychic, people call it this psychic thing. I don't think of it this way. I think it's intuition. I don't think of it as, I'm not doing predictions. I'm not doing all of that. Wilhelm is interpreting energy. That's all that it is. And you can do the same thing. And that's what, if more of us did that, we'd see a very different world. And we would not see the division we have going on. We're moving into an era of our life where we're supposed to come together. But before that happens, we're going to fall apart, internally and externally. But then the chaos will then bring us together, internally and again externally. As you go through all the messages, I want you to appreciate something, and I'll show you real quickly. I've done this for several days because I wanted to give you guys something really wonderful, and it's like a mini course, several mini courses actually, because each day what Wilhelm did was a theme that would play out through all of these years, over 17 years actually, and tell you something really wonderful about yourself. So you'll have two questions there, you answer them, and spend your time on them. You won't do them all in a day, and I've also done many days, so you'll never get it all done. That's how much content I have been given through Wilhelm, and that's how I know that everything is here for you to live this great life, and I'll never finish putting it all together, but I will finish putting together enough that it's going to fulfill this mission and fulfill this program, and that's going to be 90 lessons that changes your life and changes you in a way that you can't understand, but you will then change something and probably do something really great in the world and bring in something else that has never been seen before. That's what we're meant to do. And today is the day you might ask for more. See you soon.